Now, as I say that, a lot of people are going to find this very, very offensive. But the honest truth is, you should be trying to be attractive to your spouse actively. All right, everybody, welcome to the Bacon, Bibles, and Barbells podcast. My name is Coach Justin, and I'm joined by Coach Emily and Coach Amanda. Today, we're going to talk about the sinfulness of bodybuilding. There's a lot more nuance to it than that, but that's just to grab everyone's attention. Basically the question that we'll be tackling is it sinful for a Christian to train, lift weights, alter their lifestyle, go to bed on time, and eat a certain way in order to achieve an aesthetic look or for aesthetic pursuits? Is that redeemable? Is that sinful? Let's talk more about that in just a few minutes. But real quick, let's go around and talk about what everyone's doing. I'll go first because mine's always the most boring. I'm still getting stronger. And I'm not gaining any weight. I've been a good boy. I've gained some water weight, but I'm still like 260 or so. And lower body strength is back, like more than I expected. I haven't added any calories at all. In fact, I would love to eat more calories because I probably have better energy. But I'm doing okay. I squatted 555 for 5 today. I meant to just do it for 3, but it was going so well and I was having so much fun. I did that, and I did a couple more reps, and I skipped RDLs after because I was really thrashed.
Having so much fun.
Yeah, so I did that. So lower body strength is going great. Bench is getting better. I did bench 275 for a 4x4, which is still sucky, but way better than where I was not that long ago. So I don't think I can quite bench 315 yet, but I'm feeling close. Like today, I even said to Emily after training that I noticed there was some stability that for the first time that I hadn't had. Like my shoulder wasn't. The only thing I'd say is just moving around in the socket. Like it wasn't stable. So this was the most stable it's felt the whole time. Don't know what to attribute that to necessarily, but I'll take it. Everything else seems to be going well, and I'm just in a strength block. I'm not being hyper aggressive. I'm just trying to see where things are, slowly make things harder. Honestly, it's fairly unstructured for me right now. I'm making sure I don't squat or deadlift heavy in the same week. So I'll do like a heavy squat and then the following week will be a heavy deadlift or deadlift variant. So kind of, you could almost say conjugate-ish in a certain sense. But I'm not doing all the other stuff. I'm not doing dynamic effort. I'm not doing all the other things. But I am doing the sort of some variety and novelty around lower body days. I don't want to wear anything out. And I think this block will last me till, I'm planning probably till January or so. And then kind of go from there. But I'm pretty happy with how things are going, especially given that I am not gaining any weight and my strength is getting back up to old numbers. It tied a PR from July last year when I weighed over 10 pounds more. And I was like, that was deep into a peak. That was just a few weeks before that powerlifting meet.
Nice.
And so I did that, and I've only had 3 heavy squat sessions so far. So, squats
That'll
are back.
keep you from getting too taxed week to week, having it structured that way.
That's my thought process. So I can do a nice 4-month, sort of strength block. It's kind of lowish frequency, but good compromise, I think, all around while I rehab my upper body and hopefully bench 400 again next year, since it's probably not going to happen this year. Cool. So Amanda, how about you?
I am still on a cut. Just starting to switch out some movements this week that just weren't working on the equipment. Like my hammer strength rows, for example, got to where they were too heavy for me to get into the machine right, mostly because of my size. I was having to reach really far because I'm short and it's built for someone a little taller than me.
Do you have short arms proportionately too, or?
Not really. It was just too
It's
still
built for
a little
men.
bit too far. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it ended up to being where once the weight started increasing, it was really hard to like reach and hold it and then move around and reach the other side. And
Yeah.
so switching out some things like that were just not working as the weight progressed. So those things seem to be working so far. I'm just doing like chest supported rear delt rows instead for that, for example. And cut, I'm down to 1495 for calories. I was aiming to be sub 120 by the end of last week. I hit one day of 119 and then, fell off plan, of course. And then and then ended up like around 121. So I'm still really, really close.
Yeah, that's close.
Expecting to
And how much
be
cardio
there
are you
this
doing?
week. Right now, 35 minutes a day.
Okay, so you haven't even ramped up cardio that much yet. Okay.
No, I mean, I'm not really like in prep mode. It's like prep for prep.
Yeah.
So
Prep.
yeah, I'll like be prepping for prep, and then I'll go on maintenance for a little bit over the holidays, and then hit real prep when the new year comes around. So just getting in within that decent spot. I did increase my creatine, which could have something to do with it as well. May possibly be holding a little more water.
Yeah.
So that's why weight loss might have slowed temporarily, but physique's looking okay. So I'm not really concerned about it. Just trying to keep up the pace. It's, we all know once you've been cutting for a little bit, it slows down.
Yeah.
So
ramping
you have to
that up a
little
something bit at some point. So either cardio goes up or calories come down.
Yeah, I was at around 1610 for calories, so down to 1495. Didn't take like a huge chunk off, but
your caloric intake is still. I mean, you have a very respectably high caloric intake for sure. So that you're still losing weight at that body weight with that caloric intake is pretty darn good. Emily definitely has to go lower than that to lose. I think even when you're doing similar amounts of cardio, I would say.
Yeah,
and you guys probably carry. I would presume similar amounts of muscle mass. Obviously, you've done different things, but I would guess that your muscle mass is pretty similar overall.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, although I mean Emily is a couple inches shorter, I think, but that does.
I mean, I'm 5'2".
Oh, you are 5'2". So, I was thinking you were 5'4". Okay,
yep.
So you guys are both the same height. Okay, yeah, I guess that just shows some of the differences because it's like. That's the way. Emily has to reduce calories hard. She always has to. Interestingly, she can maintain really easy. Her and I are similar in that sense. We both have a wide maintenance band that you have to exceed one way or the other to manipulate weight. Because you can go up decently in calories.
I can't.
And she'll get watery, or whatever, but she won't like actually gain weight that stays until like probably in the 1700 calories right now, I would guess, is what it would take for you to begin to gain any weight.
I think even more at this point.
Yeah, maybe more. Yeah, we haven't tried. She bulked like 2 years ago. I pressured her for years to do it, and it went great, by the way. She gained like a couple pounds of muscle mass as an advanced female athlete. So
it's scary to bulk whenever you're like, I want to keep the fat off. So I totally get
it. She only gained like maybe a pound or two of fat though. Like it was honestly, I think for women, it's mostly that your midsection gets so thick from all the food and you get so watery, you lose your definition because women carry more of that subcutaneous body fat. It fills with water. You lose your definition. You add like 2 or 3 inches to your waist and you look like a box. But whatever. I mean, you're stronger and it's fun.
It's hard to walk around like a box, as we're going to talk about.
I like walking around like a box. What are you talking about?
That's because you're a man.
It's because I'm not a bodybuilder.
Yeah, my husband was toying around with the idea of pursuing bodybuilding at some point, but he's been strongman and powerlifting for so long that he was like, you know what? I don't really think I want to wait for the middle to atrophy and do that. He's like, I'll just be sturdy.
Yeah.
I mean, he could potentially come back and compete again if he wants to. I mean, like, it might be that powerlifting would be fine because it seems like squats and deadlifts don't really mess with his back too much. Maybe he could just stick with that. Strongman is a lot more dynamic on the back than powerlifting, in my opinion.
Yeah, his injury did happen on a deadlift. So
Yeah.
trap bar deadlift, which
Yeah.
was
Trap bar.
unexpected. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is funny. It's like that's the one that's supposed to be fine. You'd think it'd be easier on your back than squat and deadlift, but I was having this conversation with someone a while ago. They're like, "Well, it's way easier on your back," and I was like, "I actually know a guy," and they were like, "That doesn't make any sense," and I was like, "It's biology, man. There's too many variables for us to just go around generalizing and say like this is
Mm-hmm.
always the case or whatever." So. Anyway, Emily, what do you have going on?
Oh yeah, same old, same old. It's kind of like once you enter a training block, and you're just stuck there for a while. So I've just been doing the same.
You're on a mini cut now, though, right?
Yeah, I
Did
just
you just start?
started.
Yeah.
So we're doing a little bit of an experiment. Actually, I'm doing it, and then actually one of my clients is doing it as well. My client Christina, because she's similarly has a similar metabolism to what I do, and so we're both doing an experiment together of doing basically a bunch of mini cuts in the future of like
No more than 6 weeks at a time.
no more than 6 weeks, and then taking at least 2 weeks off, and then seeing where you're at, and just kind of seeing how that goes. Because I have always struggled. Once I get past like 8 weeks, it really slows down, and I have almost never been able to lose weight past 12 weeks. And of
Or
course,
if you do, it'll be like a pound or two over 4 weeks.
Right.
Like you've never taken cardio up to like the 2 hours a day,
No,
or anything like that.
But I don't care to. We just have so much going on. Like I'd be waking up at the crack of dawn to get that done, and it's
They
just
already
not
do
something
wake up
that's the thing. We already do wake up at the crack of dawn. Waking up at like 4
We were up a couple hours before the sun today.
Right.
So it's then the calorie reduction to continue losing, she has to go like below 900, and like it's just crummy. So
Yeah.
I think that that's something that we talked about, and I think it's going to work great because she
We're gonna
loses
try.
weight fast the first 6 to 8 weeks. We're just going to keep her highly sensitized, basically.
Yeah, that sounds like a really
short
good
periods.
plan.
Yeah, I'm just a real fast adapter, and so we've never done this before. So gonna try it out, and then like I said, I've got my client Christina doing it with me as well, just to kind of see how she does, because she struggles with. It's not her metabolism a little bit, but also just consistency.
I think with her, it's a compliance thing too. She struggles,
she
after
does.
a while, and so that
I
mental
think
break.
almost anybody does. Like it's just it
Yeah,
gets into your mind too much, and you're missing all the things you can't have, and it
Right.
becomes a struggle.
Yeah, so I was like, let's just go to Thanksgiving. She can.
This is why
she
I
was totally stoked. And,
probably would be a better bodybuilder because I just don't mind.
Right.
Like the only thing that bothers me is the lower energy. I can look at dessert when I'm not supposed to eat it and be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just like I can look at dessert when I can eat it and be like, oh, that looks fun, but it just doesn't have that draw to me. So like whenever I've lost weight, I don't have much of a compliance struggle, honestly. But whatever. I still like lifting heavy stuff, so maybe when I'm old, I'll do the bodybuilder transition. That's like the move, right?
That's the move.
Yeah.
But bodybuilding sinful, and we're going to talk about that. Or it could be, maybe. Before we start though, I think so. We were talking about this before the show. Let's do some definition of terms here, because I think a lot of people train like bodybuilders but don't consider themselves bodybuilders. So if you are training not for strength and you're lifting weights in a way where you're taking sets anywhere near failure, you're training like a bodybuilder. Typically, this is going to be the higher rep ranges. Anything, I would see 5 reps and above, but generally we're talking 8 reps and above. But you can gain muscle on 4 reps. In fact, there's a great study that just came out about how effective 4x4s can be for muscle mass. So we're just going to say anyone that's training volume, not trying to peak their strength, not training for strength. Your goal is like, I'm not trying to get as heavy as I can get. I'm trying to gain muscle mass. That makes you training like a bodybuilder. And it is more fitness oriented if you're not trying to get into those like ridiculously low body fat ranges, of course. But if you're trying to be lean and be muscular, you are training like a bodybuilder. It is bodybuilding. And so as we use the term going forward, that's kind of what we're going to be assuming. We're not talking necessarily about competitive bodybuilding, and we're going to try to going in this episode. If we're talking about competitive bodybuilding, we're trying to say competitive bodybuilding. But just know that if we say bodybuilding in general, we are referring to people who are trying to have a lot of muscle mass. You're trying to be hypermuscular. You're trying to be, have low body fat and high muscle mass.
Which
That's
is
it.
most people.
Yeah, that's bodybuilding. It's okay. It's fine. So let's kind of take it from there. So the motivation is important. Are you doing it for vanity or are you doing it for virtue? Amanda took some great show notes for us here. So Amanda, do you want to elaborate on that first section actually that you made? I think it'd be really helpful to kind of pre-frame some of the we should examine why.
Yeah, the motive is very important here. I think that not only for fitness, but various aspects of life, your actions outwardly can be the exact same, but your motive for doing it is different. So if you are wanting to seek attention by looking better, that is a motive that you should probably question the deep, the deeper components of whatever that may be. Comparing yourself to others. This happens a lot if you're looking at a lot of fit influencers and you want to look like that and you're using that as a comparison. That could be a clue that your pursuit of this fitness endeavor is vain.
Yeah, can we tease a little comparison, a little bit there with the comparison too? I mean, I think that it's not wrong to look at someone and be like, I'd like to look like that.
Yeah, I mean, admiration is a lot different than comparison. You can appreciate somebody's effort that they've put into something, and it can be even a motivating factor for you. To, let's say you've just not been doing anything. Oh, well, this person looks amazing. I'd love to see what they're doing to get there. I don't think that is a bad place to start. But if you're starting to fall into envy or jealousy, like they have this, why don't I? Then that's a more dangerous place to be. That's definitely where it is becoming sinful to pursue. If you're pursuing it more because you want to take care of what the Lord has given you, if you want to exercise discipline, which is a good trait, a good quality, then that's more along those virtuous lines.
Yeah, I think that it's okay to look at someone and be like, I'd really like to get to that point someday. That's fine. But when you have the thoughts of I suck because I don't look like that person, or why don't I look like that person? I feel like I've worked hard enough for it. Those types of things, or like just plain envy of just like, man, there's an idolatry that can be there sometimes that could be selfishly motivated. I think that's where that type of thinking can be a problem. It's okay to look at someone and be like, well, that my goal is that, like, that's cool. That's totally fine. But it's the envy, the idolatry of, what that person has accomplished or how they look. That's where we start, I think, running into problems. Or, of course, anything to do with, I wish my spouse looked like that, or any of that kind of stuff. That's where we start getting into envy and those types of sins, I believe. And I think there's a certain beauty in stewardship too. It's not wrong for you to be motivated by changing your appearance for the better. They've done all these studies on the psychological effect of being a muscular person and what it has on other people. People tend to respect you more because you're walking billboard of your own discipline. And that's not a wrong perception for people to have about you, because you're showing that you have exercised discipline in your life to achieve something. And it's not wrong for someone to perceive you that way. And it's not wrong to even want to be perceived that way to a certain degree in balance with other things. One aspect about you can be an irresponsible person and whatever, and buy an expensive car or an expensive house or jewelry, and have people look at you and go, I would, those are my goals. And you might do so wrongly. You can do it wrongly or rightly. I would suspect when you do it for the purpose of drawing attention to yourself, that's where these things start to become problems. In the same sense, where you can train for the purpose of wanting to look better, But if your hope in doing so is that people look at you and have some degree of envy for you, then I think that's where we start, running into problems, and it starts moving into more of a sinful area. Caring for your health is something obviously we talk about often. And one of the side effects of caring for your health is just that you look better. You become a walking billboard of health. And that's part of why there's a respect there that people have even subconsciously. We don't do it for that, but it's sort of like a happy outcome that's like, okay, cool. Like that's nice. We do it because we like the pursuit, we like the discipline, we like the effect that it has on us. But we don't necessarily, I don't think we should necessarily be doing it because we want people to look at us and go like, oh yeah, I really want to look like that guy or that girl or whatever the case may be. And for those of you that guys out there that are thinking you want to do it to attract ladies, as soon as you're like not a fluffy mess, all the attention you're going to get is from dudes anyway. Like that's how it's going to go. I have never had a woman compliment me on being muscular ever that I can remember. Like I, like I've had a lot of dudes, however, even in a heterosexual way, be like, man, that's great, whatever. But like if you even talk to like guys that are super duper jacked, they'll tell you that pretty much all the compliments they get are from guys. And it's just, usually admiration. Like, that's really cool. I wish I could look like that. And even not even from an envious point of view, just from like a, man, I really like an inspirational type of effect that it can have on people. And again, that's not bad. It's okay for people to look at you and go like, man, I would really like to get to that level of discipline over that many years.
Yeah, I think where a lot of motivation to start working out or start eating healthier starts is somebody will say, I just want to have abs. They'll say that.
Yeah.
Not very many people actually get all the way. Obviously, we all have abs, but what they mean is they want to reveal the abs. And so even though a lot of people don't necessarily get there, that's a very low body fat percentage that you have to do that. That can kickstart a lot of people's journeys. But then as they begin, they find, oh, I'm very much more disciplined now. Oh, I can do so many more things. And it becomes way more about what they're able to do, how they're able to feel during the day, because they're now taking care of themselves, that the physical component doesn't necessarily hold as much importance. However, you're going to begin to look better anyway. So it's just part of the way everything works, just by nature. You're going to have physique improvement if you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of thing that gets women stuck in particular is we have this thing of like, well, if I want to do better, it must mean that I'm ungrateful for where I am now. Or like, it's like you have a hard time like also striving forward and also and without feeling bad about like, oh, but then like I'm not actually thankful for where God has me and that sort of thing. Because if I was thankful, then I wouldn't actually want to change it, sort of thing. And like we get in this mind trap and the spiral of like, well, it doesn't actually have to be one way or the other. Like one thing I think Christian women in particular get really wrong is like, you don't have to lose weight or want to lose weight and be like beating up on yourself about where you are the entire time. Like if you've been a glutton, if you've been undisciplined, if you've been in sin and that's what led you to the place you are today, like you actually can just repent and ask God for forgiveness and then choose to have a totally joyful, grateful, thankful attitude every day, and also be working towards doing better in your discipline and all these other things along the way. Like it doesn't have to be one way or the other. And like you said, the result of someone being faithful in these areas is just going to naturally end in a better looking, more aesthetic body. But you can actually be joyful and repentant along the way to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that you mentioned the word, what does God have that for me? I don't think God has it for you to to do something sinful and have the results of that sinfulness show, which is what obesity generally is. Like, yes, that's where you are right now. Doesn't mean you need to be, like you said, down on yourself or, whatever, depressed about it. But That's not what God has for you. God doesn't have sin for you. He never does. What he has for you is recognizing where you are and wanting to improve based on, okay, here's where I am. There are consequences for my actions. Moving forward from that is what repentance looks like. If you would ask someone who's been a glutton for their whole life, what does repentance look like? The answer would generally be eating better, eating a healthier diet, which is going to involve weight loss. That's that's a good thing, and nobody should be condemning it. And the funny thing is, you're probably going to train like a bodybuilder to do that. You're gonna be training higher reps. That's safer. The injury risk is lower, especially when you're losing weight. That's like that's how it works. And so like the aesthetic and the health go together. God has naturally created us to want beauty. God created beauty. Beauty is a creation of God. We are wired toward admiring beauty, to seeing beauty, to liking, to like to see beauty. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And beautiful people draw the eye more for various reasons. That's not sinful. That's not wrong. And I'm not talking about lust here. I'm talking about just looking at someone going, wow, they have really made themselves very attractive. That's
Are you
not
talking about
a bad...
pretty privilege, Justin?
Pretty privilege. Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that, but I suppose. But like, I mean, if you are a woman who is attractive because you've led a very healthy lifestyle, like good for you, or a man, like good for you. That's great. I don't consider that vanity unless you did so for vain reasons. But if you did so because you want to be healthy and to be a better steward of your body and to bless your spouse and be a more capable person, be someone who's able to be the Jack grandpa who can play with your grandkids, who can be physically capable of service and, as a man to protect your family and to provide, those are all good motivations, and you should totally stick with them and proceed. God made us to want to do things that God made us to serve. God made us to be physically capable. He didn't design us to be people that protect or even to pursue physical incapability, which is what someone's doing if they shun all of this because like, oh, I'm too afraid I'll get too vain about it. Well, if that's your struggle, that's a spiritual struggle that can be addressed, but you can still pursue health without getting caught up in that. And one aspect of this that I think we should touch on is looking good for your spouse. Like, to me, this is sort of like a basic thing, but one of the aspects of like being faithful in your marriage is looking attractive. Now, as I say that, a lot of people are going to find this very, very offensive, but the honest truth is you should be trying to be attractive to your spouse actively. My name is Justin Johnson with High Calling Fitness. Maybe you're tired, gaining weight, waking up with joint pain, back pain, and a body that just doesn't feel like it used to. You've tried to fix it, but nothing seems to last. What if you don't need another app or crash diet, but a real coach, someone to meet you where you're at and walk with you step by step? At High Calling Fitness, our coaching comes to you wherever you are. No matter where you live, small town or city, across the country or across the world, your health still matters. You don't have to go it alone. We build personalized plans based on your goals, your schedule, and your equipment, even if it's just a set of dumbbells in a small space. This isn't just training, it's a personal partnership. You'll get weekly updates, one-on-one access to your coach, and ongoing support through Zoom and Slack every step of the way. We're here to help you build strength, restore energy, and claim the life you were meant to live. Book a free consult today. Let's talk about your goals and see how we can build something better together. High Calling Fitness, built for the everyday, ready for the extraordinary. That is part of. I think there's an extrapolation there, even on not defiling the marriage bed, in the sense that like you are trying to attract your spouse's attention, and again, being a faithful steward of your body will make that easier because you're going to be more attractive. It's more like a side effect, but it's a very real effect that's very present. And it's something that should be kept in mind when you're considering like taking better care of your health. Like, this isn't just for you, it's for your spouse. As a man or woman, it's so that you can be physically capable of doing the things you need to do. You won't be tired all the time, and you'll be less likely to be sick, and of course less likely to develop chronic, illness states like diabetes and other things like that. But you also will be more attractive. You're actually serving your spouse by making it easier for their attention to remain on you where it should be.
Yeah. I was going to mention earlier when we were talking about vanity as well, when you're seeking attention from others, that could include seeking attention from someone who is not your spouse. And so you need to be obviously careful to do that, but you should be becoming fitter with your spouse in mind. And just like you would want them to do. Like, you wouldn't want your spouse to fall into a pattern of something that's really unhealthy and is going to take them from you sooner than they should be. And they don't want that for you either. So there is, like you said, just a natural effect of taking care of yourself. You're going to look better for your spouse. Absolutely nothing sinful for that. I think there is a note to add about modesty for this, just because it seems that those who become fitter are a little bit more scrutinized for what they wear because they naturally draw the eye's attention more. And so maybe there's a focus on making sure that you are covered in a proper way. Especially if you are a fitter, now that goes for anybody, but it's something to be aware of. I've heard people who are fit complain about it. Like, I can't dress this way because I'm in good shape. Well, maybe you shouldn't anyway, but you're drawing attention of eyes that don't belong on you when you're doing that. Whereas you can save that for your own bedroom with your own spouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, and another aspect to this too is, with like food, the saying goes that that the first taste is with your eyes, and like we are visual creatures. It's okay for that to be the case between you and your spouse. In fact, I would say it's something that should be encouraged actively, and even actively pursued within reason, of course. But like, you should want to be attractive to your spouse. You should be doing the things you can do. And one of the attractive components to this is not just purely the aesthetic, but being someone who has the discipline and character that takes care of themselves. And then it happens to show. But it's a lot easier to be attracted to a spouse who is putting in work, who is disciplined, who is focused, than a spouse who is, by comparison, if they're lazy, if they're overeating, if they are not exercising discipline, if they're letting the food be an idol in their lives or something like that, it is more difficult to be attracted to someone. It's harder to be attracted to your spouse when they're in sin, plain and simple. It doesn't excuse, any sinfulness on either spouse's part, but it does, like, you are it's another aspect of sort of serving your spouse by making sure that you're presentable. That as Paul called, the unpresentable parts are presentable to the one person that they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't think we have to get so like tied up around the particulars. Everybody knows, like, it doesn't mean your husband loves you less if you had a day in sweatpants or something like that, or if you're a little overweight after having a baby, or like, we know that there's particular context for particular things.
Sure.
Like, it doesn't mean if Justin came home from work and I had toddler spit up on my shirt and whatever, he'd like love me any less. But at the same time, there's a particular beauty and appreciation he has when we go out on a date night and I put on a nice dress and I do my hair and, everything is looking good. But it doesn't change, like, obviously our spouse's affection towards us when we're in specific states with specific contexts or anything like that. I feel like I probably didn't need to say that, but some people love to pick out those particulars and be like, well, he doesn't doesn't mean he doesn't love
Yeah.
me if I had a bad night and my hair's a mess and blah, blah. It's like, no, we all know that part of the sweetest moments of marriage is that our spouses still love us, even when we're in the pit sometimes and we had rough times. Like, that's part of the beauty of it. But at the same time, there is a particular appreciation when there's some more effort put in. And like Justin just mentioned, like, part of the appreciation is just purely the effort.
Yeah.
I do think sometimes when people mention those particular times, like I'm postpartum, I don't look the way I want to, it can be because they're making an excuse for not changing it at another time.
Yeah.
It can be used that way quite often. Like I've had 4 kids. Of course I look this way. Okay, well, so has Emily.
Yeah. You have to learn to be very, very honest with yourself. And I think even asking your husband his opinion on some of those things and being determined not to get offended and just accept it with grace and, you know, realize the context you're in, and being willing to be just brutally honest with yourself sometimes is what you're going to have to do.
Yeah. Intimacy and just attraction to your spouse is a gift. And when you give a gift to someone and present it to someone, you don't want it to look bad. You don't want it to look ugly. You want it to be pleasing. We wrap gifts. We present them nicely to people. We buy cards that look mostly because they look good, because that's an expression of, you know, our love for someone. The same can be said of, you know, how we present ourselves to our spouses. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to be like, as women, done up all the time, but it also means that an effort goes a long way, and it makes it easier to respect your spouse when, again, they're taking care of themselves. Just in the same way that, like, women generally appreciate their husbands to be groomed and to not be like dirty, and, you know, to trim their fingernails and to wash their hands when they're, you know, dirty from whatever, like get a haircut, you know, keep your beard trimmed, you know, whatever it is. Like, women appreciate that because it's more attractive. It's not because it's like needed. There's not a biological imperative necessarily, but it's part of the, like, this makes it easier for your wife to enjoy your, you know, your masculinity, if you will, because you don't have those barriers. And so, like, present yourself in a way that's this attractive. Like, it's not, I don't think this should be overcomplicated. A lot of people act like it's vanity, and I think that's remnants of Gnosticism in the church to think that way. Like, God created the eye to be drawn to beauty. Again, that's not a mistake. When Adam looked at Eve and he saw her beauty, and, you know, and God declared, by the way, everything he created as good, like, it's good to protect that beauty.
Yeah. Well, and just to be clear, like, all the things we're saying at this moment used to be normal in our culture.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't have been controversial for a mom in the 50s to be like, hey, you might want to try and keep a little trim after you get married. You know, it takes a little more effort. You're going to be busy, but that's something that would be really nice to do for your husband.
Yeah, feminism has destroyed the health and aesthetic of a lot of women, because it has led to this sort of excuse and entitlement to, like, I can look however I want, you know, or whatever, and it doesn't matter, and almost like entitled to, like, do whatever. And that's the same kind of nonsense that I remember hearing from certain men growing up, that, like, well, I already, you know, I married my wife and she's committed now, so I don't have to pursue her anymore. We don't ever go on dates because, like, she's locked in. That's a terrible perspective to have on either side. And, like, you should be seeking to serve, and it's not a zero-sum game. You shouldn't be taking advantage of the fact that your spouse is committed to you for life. You should be trying to make that commitment as pleasing and joyful as possible, not allowing barriers to creep in because, like, well, they're committed, so I'm going to take advantage of them now.
Yeah, and speaking of us needing to serve our spouses, that's whether or not they are serving you in that moment. Like, you are responsible for your actions. If you think you both should be in more shape, go ahead and start first and be the example. That goes either way. Like, of course, husbands lead the home, but a wife can definitely influence a husband by just going ahead and doing the thing and not nagging about it. So it's the
and
serving
I don't think
happens
any husband's
no matter
going to complain about that, you know. I mean, honestly, and I think when I have seen some spouses be resistant to their spouse beginning to pursue health and everything.
Hmm.
In fact,
It
I have had
magnifies their own.
exactly, like I have had people that have had consults with me that wanted to like, I want to hire you, but I'm going to run it by my wife first. And they come back and like, yeah, she's not comfortable with that. I'm not saying this is every time, but some of the time I'm very confident that some of it was just the wife not liking the changes that would be made around the house, the things that they'd
Hmm.
have to give up, the desserts that he would request that they wouldn't make, and also the conviction of seeing their husband improve where they were in decline.
Yeah.
So let's switch to actual competitive bodybuilding. So this is where we're talking about actually competitive bodybuilding. This will probably be where people are going to feel some people's hackles might get up a little bit more than the other stuff we've talked about. So we're talking about bodybuilding where you basically, you gain a bunch of muscle mass and then you lose most of your body fat and you walk around on stage tanned, usually spray tanned and maybe tanned if you can, wearing very, very little and showing what you've built. Amanda, obviously you've been on the stage before. A lot of people believe that in bodybuilding, people are doing it purely because they want that attention on stage, and furthermore, that it's even like a very sexual type of attention. When you've been in those circles, when you're competing yourself, and also like the demeanor conversations you have with other competitors behind the stage and as people are leading up to it, how much of that is true, do you think, for competitors?
I actually watched very closely my very first show just to see if it was sexualized, and I didn't see that at all. In fact, the judges had a meeting with us before the day beforehand at check-ins, like, I don't want to see any sexual type movements or motions. Like, we are not judging that. I'm going to dock you if you do that. Like, they're
Mm-hmm.
specifically saying not to have those certain motions whenever you're transitioning between poses. And I didn't see any of that backstage, didn't hear any conversations of it being sexualized backstage. It was very much an appreciation for the discipline and hard work that you've done. And it's judged as a sport like other sports are judged. There are certain criteria that you have to meet. You kind of don't even think about what you like look like attractive wise at all, because you're like, oh my, is my delt in balance with the glute? And like
Yeah.
it's so particular what they're looking for, that I mean, it's a competition just like strongman competitions are judged, just like powerlifting competitions are judged. Different criteria, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could probably argue it's a little more subjective
Yeah,
than some
totally.
of those other ones. You know, it's not like an overhead press where did they lock their elbows out and put their head between their
Yeah.
arms, where you can actually see it, or is their hip crease below their knees on their squat where you can actually see that. Those can sometimes be debated as well if you've ever
Yeah.
watched strength sports, but
Yeah.
there's so it's a little more subjective, but it's still a judgment. It's still a structure of stewardship, and the goal is not to be attractive to somebody else. Not even the judge. Like it's not a who's the most attractive person on stage thing. Like they're not even looking at your face. You could be the prettiest person and be in last place.
Yeah.
That's not what they're looking at.
Yeah, and I think one aspect that a lot of people don't realize too is the last thing that you usually care about on a bodybuilding stage is sex. Like you're starving. The thing that you care about is food, and you
Mhm.
feel like you feel like you're going to die. Every like bit of air that touches your skin feels freezing because you have no body fat left. Your metabolism's as low as it's ever been. You don't feel very interested. Like talk to any man or woman. Like it'll reduce your desire more than anything else.
Mhm.
Just because that's what happens when you don't eat food. That's what happens when you're freezing cold, because you're cold all the time when you're getting close to a competition. Like bodybuilders, when they're like not warming up, like right before they get onto the stage to like pump up a little bit, they're wearing like a hoodie, and it could be like 70 degrees indoors, and they're freezing. They will all tell you that they are cold like all the time, especially the women.
Hmm.
Like it's not out of this sort of like pleasure pursuit or anything like that. I view it very much like sculpting. Like you kind of, I think you said the word sculpting even. You are sculpting for a particular aesthetic for a particular class. And with beauty being in the eye of the beholder, it's not necessarily that like that look is even what would be optimally sexually best looking for you. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's not really that. They're looking for a certain balance and symmetries. They're looking for certain amounts of body fat to be present or not present on, on the body. They're judging you based on that, on the texture of your skin and other stuff. And it's not there are written standards for these things. Obviously there's a lot of subjectivity to it, of course, but it's not who's the sexiest person on stage, really. And the only way to show your work is to have a lot of skin showing.
Hmm.
Plain and simple. Like it's sort of
Yeah.
like what's needed to show it. And the tanning is because it makes it so that the competitors are more uniform. People with pale skin are going to look washed out. People whose skin is really dark, they're actually going to not show their lines very well, because you just can't light up someone that has really dark skin really well. So like people that have really dark skin, they put on like the tanning that they put on does not make them darker. It actually makes them lighter, and they're trying to bring out more like color tones. And someone who has really pale skin, you're trying to darken them so they don't get washed out in their lights. It's actually sort of like bring balance, so that like
Hmm.
those skin texture changes, the body fat levels, the fullness of the muscles, whether there's striations or not. It's so that those things can be seen under the same lighting set up for a whole bunch of competitors without
Yeah.
changing the lights. Like that's
Also, the stage photos that many of us have seen, like actual show day, you're tanned, you've carved up a little bit, you're a little fuller. But if you see a bodybuilder in the last 2 weeks just off stage, not tan, it's kind of sickly looking.
yeah, you don't
It's
look
not
very good.
attractive
Yeah,
at all.
I've long said that I think most bodybuilders look about their best about 4 to 6 weeks before the stage, because
Hmm.
you're like just starting to get freaky, but you're not totally freaky looking, and you're not totally totally like just shrunk down to nothing or whatever. It's like kind of a balance at that point.
Yeah.
So I think that any sport can become excuse me, can become obviously idolized. With bodybuilding in particular, what I see is that a lot of people do it because they want body mastery. Kind of like,
Hmm.
and it's sort of like different from strength sport. With strength sport, we want mastery of a weight that's external to us. And with bodybuilding, it's more like we're pursuing a mastery of our body, ourselves, and demonstrating a mastery. It's sort of like judging someone's discipline and judging someone's effort and the length they're willing to go to, and then basically presenting that. You're sort of like being judged on those merits more than anything else. It's not some sort of it's like a beauty pageant, but it's not a beauty pageant. A beauty pageant, you're being judged for, what the judge thinking you're just the best looking person there.
Hmm.
On a bodybuilding stage, you're being judged for what is specific to that weight class, and did this person conform to it and put the work in necessary to look like the guidelines of that bodybuilding class.
Right. And for myself, and actually a lot of bodybuilders who are in the masters categories, we're doing it because we don't want to do performance sports anymore. Like,
Yeah,
I was a performance athlete my whole life. I have so many injuries that I still have to deal with the repercussions of,
yeah,
that I don't want to do that again, because I just know I'll hurt myself. If I just have to train and eat a certain way, cool, I'll do that.
hmm,
I like competing, something I want to do. If it became an idol to me, I would have to do business with that eventually. But it's a way that those who kind of had that competitive streak in them can do something when they don't want to do those performance sports anymore.
yeah, yeah. Totally agree. So, to kind of like begin to wrap up the final chapter here, there is a line obviously between healthy desire and sinful obsession. And what makes something an idol is if you love it more than God or their righteous pursuits, if you pursue it at the expense of your responsibilities, your God-given responsibilities, and if you can't achieve that kind of balance. I think, Amanda, you noted some good warning signs here. Are you constantly comparing yourself to others in the sense of where there's envy involved or anything like that? If you are walking around, especially like, obviously you have to have a fear of gaining weight if you're in prep. But if you're a normal person and the scale goes up a couple of pounds, are you freaking out? If you are, then that could be a sign that you need to look at, why are you freaking out? Why are you concerned? And also realize that like water weight fluctuates a lot. It probably means nothing. But also like, how do you internalize what's your inner dialogue like when you gain a couple pounds or something like that? Is this I think that discontent can be good, but it needs to be the right kind of discontent. We shouldn't be content with mediocrity. We shouldn't be content with, being unhealthy. But the discontentment a good discontentment that you have can be totally out of place if it's leading to like envy, idolatrous thoughts, and, even like getting depressed about something like that. Like if you screw up with your diet, whatever, you just get back on the wagon. It's okay. Move on. Again, what does repentance look like? It looks like just changing, going back to doing the thing that you should be doing. And again,
you don't have to go through a period of mourning or grief because you messed up. That's okay. There's just actions to turn around, do it, do the next day better.
Yep. Yeah, just move on. And again, it shouldn't lead to neglect of your other callings. It should enhance your other callings. I think that's really the big point we're talking here is like your pursuit in this area should make you more capable to do the things you've been called to do. It should not be taking away from them. Now, there can be a little bit of nuance if you're competing because like, yes, there's a sacrifice that's going to be made as far as your time and certain things like that. But as long as you can achieve some degree of balance where you're making a sacrifice and still taking care of all the other responsibilities that are more important in your life, then great. Then you probably found that balance. Amanda, like I really liked the question that you put here. If I lost my physique tomorrow, would my joy in Christ remain? And ask yourself that question. Could you still, is this an idol that's to the degree, is this an idolatrous pursuit to the point that you don't believe that if something happened to your physique or your looks or something like that, that you could still not have joy in Christ. You could still not have hope in Christ. That you would have a barrier to your worship. You'd have a barrier to, your spiritual well-being. And of course, obviously, like if some horrible injury happened, you struggle with certain things. If you become deformed because of a burn or whatever, like it's natural to have challenge in that area. But if we're talking about like, if I just, slacked off for 6 months, would I just become depressed or whatever? You may, but that's probably more of as a result of just that you're not healthy anymore. Yeah. And that's okay. But if it's because like, I won't attract all the eyeballs that I used to attract, then that's where it's a problem. So ask yourself that question, like, if I were to lose this tomorrow, what would my response be? I think it's a good way of evaluating where you are spiritually in your pursuit. And the point isn't our looks. It's just that our looks are sort of like a nice, happy result. And again, God created beauty. He created us to desire beauty, to be attracted to beauty. It's okay to want to pursue being beautiful, being attractive, as long as it's with the right motivations, and it's for the right reasons, and it's not to try to create envy in others. It's not out of envy for others, and it's not out of a desire to draw unnecessary attention to yourself or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that the aesthetic conversation, obviously we just talk about fitness, but if you are really going to say aesthetic pursuits are sinful, then don't wear makeup, don't get your hair cut, don't buy new clothes.
Yeah, where's the line? Yeah, like
where's the line for how you
walk around in like a burlap sack barefoot and never shower? Like where's like it's kind of a silly thing to say, and I think very Gnostic to say as well. And I don't think those words should ever be uttered by Christians. Like, we dress for the occasion, you know, we take care of our hair, we groom ourselves because we want to look respectable and because we want to look to some degree attractive and, you know, just in the right way. And bodybuilding is just can be a part of that, especially non-competitive bodybuilding. Has to be in balance, of course, but I don't think on the whole there's anything wrong with pursuing bodybuilding in the sense of becoming muscular and being lean and being fit, and even enjoying how that makes you look, and particularly for your spouse.
Yeah. If you're looking for a really deep dive on like the theology of how you think about the body, Nancy Piercy has a book, especially for women, called Honor Thy Body. It is a real deep dive if you want to go down that rabbit hole and be like, oh, where is the line? Have I actually thought about that?
Yeah.
Very anti-Gnostic.
Yeah. Cool. Any final thoughts, ladies?
I do like defining bodybuilding as obviously outside of the competitive realm. Any pursuit to like add more muscle, which is what I do with almost any older woman I've ever worked with, because it's going to help your hormones, it's going to help your bone density, it's going to, you know, help all of that. So I'm just going to call them bodybuilders now too.
Like every client that we work with, we're trying to add muscle mass to them and generally get them leaner. Except for the rare, you know, the couple guys that I am working with that are like too small. They're putting on a little bit of you know, they go through, you know, gaining phases and stuff like that where a little bit of body fat creeps in, but we're not making them fat. But otherwise, like, that's what we're doing with everybody is we're putting on muscle mass. We're making them in better shape, more conditioned, leaner, and more capable. And guess what? They happen to look better while they're doing it too. And I think that's great. And I won't apologize for that. And for how that makes them better at serving their families, serving their churches, serving their children, and being more attractive to their spouses. That should be fun. That should be enjoyed, and it should be celebrated.
Yeah, I was reading through comments on our post. If anyone had questions about this, it was posted a couple weeks ago. I wanted to cover, you know, anything that they asked, and I think we did. So
good.
I was going through the comments and just making sure we touched it all.
Nice. I just say to women real quick, like, encourage other women in this, because women can be the worst to each other in this. Like, we could be the ones like, oh, you don't need to lose weight, or you're fine the way you are, blah, 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 blah. Be the wise woman who actually accepts that there is a standard of beauty. Like, encourage them in both things. You know, encourage them by asking good questions. Like, is there something you need to repent in? Are you being faithful? Are you being a good steward? And if they're not, lead them to repentance and then joy in the journey. Like, don't just, we just have this tendency to sweep everything under the rug and be like, oh, it's fine, you're this, you're that. It's like, just be the wise woman in the room who's willing to ask the good questions and support women that actually do want to look better, do want to get fitter, do want to be more capable, because it's not sinful to want those things. Yeah,
Totally agree. Awesome. Well, if anybody has any questions about any of this stuff or hate, just feel to send it our way. And if you're interested in putting on muscle mass, getting in better shape, you can always reach out to us on any of the socials. Just search for High Calling Fitness or go to highcallingfitness.com to book a meeting with one of us, and we'd love to tell you about how we can help. And until then, gains and grace.
Gains and grace.
Gains and grace.